Hey everyone, my name is Lizzie and today we'll be testing pH levels. We're gonna need this here, the pH meter, the electronic pH meter. And the reason why this is important is because if your pH is not right, your alcohol may not start brewing, or the yeast might not eat the sugar. So the yeast is a sort of particular organism and it needs ideal conditions in order to eat the sugar and make alcohol and CO2. So there's not only one way to determine pH. We have your pH meter. We also have pH strips. So they're a little smaller than what I envisioned in real life, but we're going to test both and we're going to determine the pH of a few ingredients I have today. So my rum is not ready. We're gonna try getting regular liquids from the grocery store like Bailey's Pina Colada flavor. We also have beer. This is Palm Bay. So it's a sort of sweeter beer. And we have almond milk. Almond milk that is the original kind. So let's start with adjusting the pH meter. So you have this right here. Hopefully there's batteries in it. There's an on button on top and a calibrate button at the bottom. And when you click on on, you'll see some numbers that start to show up. So it's at 000 right now. We have the instruction manual for the pH meter because you need to calibrate it first. Okay, it says first to remove the protective cap, which we did. Rinse the electrode in distilled water. This part here. Turn the meter on by pressing on the on and off key. So we've done the first 3 steps. And then it talks about putting the electrode in the liquid you want to test. But first we have to calibrate this little machine here. And in order to do so, we need a pH calibration solution. So we need to find 3 containers with 250 milliliters of water, distilled water. So let's start with that. I'm back with the 250 milliliters of water. And just so people know, 250 milliliters is equal to 1 cup. So we have 3 glasses here. And based on the instructions, it says that we have to empty 6.86, which is this 6.86 pH in one, 4.00 in the second container of 250 milliliters of water, and 9.18 in the third container. And you stir gently until the powder is dissolved. This all depends on the level of precision you want your pH meter to have. So if you want it to be precise to plus or minus 0.1 pH, you just need to calibrate with this powder here, 6.86. However, if you want the accuracy to be at plus or minus 0.01 pH, that's super precise, then you need to put in the 3 powders. Honestly, making alcohol, you do not need it to be precise to 0.01 pH. 0.1 is fine. So I'm just going to use a new pack of 6.86 pH. I got a new one here since the previous one has been opened. And it took me a long time to do this video because I do not have Amazon Prime and it took a long time for this package to arrive. And if you want to test your pH, there are links in the description below for you to get a pH digital meter. And it comes along with these packs here, with 3 packs. So you'll be able to calibrate it as soon as you receive your pH meter. So it's time to open the pack. We're going to empty the whole thing inside the 250 milliliters of water. All right, so we're opening the package. Here in the jar. The whole pack. And we stir until it's dissolved. Now we have to clean the electrode, which is this part right here. You have to clean it with distilled water, which has already been done. And press cal for 5 seconds. So if we put it here, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's blinking to 6.86. Oh wait, okay. It was blinking to 6.86. It says it's supposed to finish at 6.86 calibration, but mine keeps moving. So if you have a digital meter, let me know if this happens to you, if this is a defective one or if this is normal, because it's now at 6. It's now moving a lot. But it's hovering around 6.42. And we recalibrate in 3 occasions. If you haven't used this in a long time, it would be your chance to recalibrate, which is in my situation what happened. I haven't used this in a long time because I haven't had any defective washes where I needed to look at pH. Recently, I used the same water, the same ingredients, so it's pretty much stable for me in my case. Another reason to recalibrate is if your testing accuracy should be super high. So if you need to be really precise with your pH. There's also a reason why you would want to recalibrate. That's if the cal button, which is the bottom one here, was pushed and the electrode was exposed to air for a long period of time. So they always suggest for you to put the cap back on once you're done using it. The numbers are still moving, and as you can see, it's going a little crazy. It's at 12, 16. So I believe it's the pH meter the issue. But do not fret, we're gonna test it with the pH strips. So this is where the experiment comes in handy. It's time for the experiment portion of the video. So this is where we take 3 liquids and we measure the pH. So we're gonna measure it with the electronic pH meter and the pH strips just to make sure that everything is correct. So me personally, I would rely on the pH strips because the electronic pH meters numbers were fluctuating a lot. However, we'll see if they come to the same number at the end. So we'll start with the first liquid, which is Pina Colada Baileys. Smells really like pina colada. If you like pina colada. Delish. That's one liquid. The second liquid is beer. Ooh. A lot of bubbles. Someone's gonna have to finish that beer later. And the third is the almond milk. Put that in. Now that we have our 3 ingredients, let's see what the electronic pH meter says. So we'll start from left to right and it goes almond milk, beer, and Baileys. The numbers are still fluctuating, which is not normal. Let's put this in here. This is the almond milk. 6.87. And in between each liquid, I'll just dip it in water just to purify. So the milk was at 7 pH. I'm gonna have to verify online to see as well if those are legit numbers. Next, for the beer, we have, ooh, the pH is really low. It's around 3. Yeah. Then we wash it. So beer is about 3 pH. And for the Baileys, last but not least, Pina Colada Baileys, 6.7, just like the milk. So there's no pH value of Baileys online, but what we know is that it's made of whiskey and Irish cream. And Irish cream would be related to milk. So this is the pH of milk. And this is the pH of whiskey. And Baileys is more of a creamy drink, so there's more milk than whiskey, and the pH value of Baileys should be roughly the pH values of milk. So they should be around the milk range. Okay, 6.7 it is. And we wash that. All right, so let's go with the pH strips and see if we have the same result. So we're opening the pH strips. It's in such a cute, tiny container. If you want to know how tiny it is, it's like the size of my thumb. And my thumb is small. So it goes from 1 to 14 pH, which is what we need because your optimal pH levels when it comes to fermentation is at 5.2 roughly. I've heard recently that yeast can tolerate lower pH levels, so drop a comment below and let me know if you were able to make a home brew or mead or wine with a low pH level and if it's still fermented correctly, or if yeast was able to perform in a high pH environment. I'm curious to know if this pH measurements are strict or if we can waver upon them. pH is most important within the first 24 hours of your wash because afterwards the pH will change regardless because there are reactions happening with the yeast and the sugar and the pH fluctuates throughout your wash. And the levels of pH after the first 24 to 48 hours do not matter. You want to make sure that the optimal conditions are there for the yeast in the first 24 hours because that's when they get set up. So that's when they should have warm temperature, good pH, enough water, enough sugar for the yeast. And afterwards, they just go on their own and eat the sugar to survive. So when it comes to pH strips, we have a bunch of little packets here. Okay, so I just have to dip one of these yellow rectangles inside the solution, and based on the color that it gives me, it's gonna give me the pH measurement. I'm not sure if you see that, but for every color, there's a certain number associated with it. So let's begin, and I'm gonna need one yellow strip per liquid. So when we start with the first one, let's see the pH of almond milk. So I put it there for 5 seconds. Just gonna let it air out. And you know what, I'll do the 3 strips now and then wait 5 minutes and come back to the colors later. Okay, second strip for the beer. The second one, drop. In the beer. You know how long to dip these strips in? I was just thinking 5 seconds. Oh, this one definitely has a different color. Really more orange. And the last part is the Baileys. So for the third and final strip, we put in the Baileys Pina Colada for 5 seconds. 5. Honestly, I believe that there's a lot of similarities between the Baileys Pina Colada and the almond milk. So they're pretty much the same in terms of pH, I would assume. We're gonna look at the results. So this is what I have. Yellow, orange, and yellow. Based on the numbers, this means that the Baileys and the milk are at roughly 6 pH. The beer is roughly at 4. So 6, 4, 6. With the pH digital meter, it was 7, 3, and 6.7. So we both see how the pH meter and the pH strips have the pH of the Baileys and the pH of the almond milk higher and the pH of the beer lower. However, the numbers aren't exactly the same. Me personally, I would go for the pH strips because it's, first of all, it's cheaper and you just have to rely on this chart right here. You don't have to calibrate, and I also got this from Amazon. You can go on the link below and purchase one from Amazon. There's also an option to purchase a pH stabilizer, and this, what it does, it keeps your wash at 5.2 during your whole fermentation process, just to make sure that the yeast is in optimal conditions from the beginning to the end of your fermentation process, which can take from 1, 2, or 4 weeks, depending on how you like your brew and how much sugar you add, your temperature. So it's based on multiple factors. You can keep this pH stabilizer. And there's also oyster shells. Oyster shells, I hear, that stabilizes your pH. Me personally, I've never used oyster shells. If you've used some, drop a comment below and let me know, does this affect the taste of your alcohol? I'm curious to know if it does or if not. So this was the pH test, you guys. So if you like this experiment, we do many more in our classes that we offer. There's a link below on the classes that you can be a part of. You can meet new people who share the same hobby as you in alcohol making. And if you found this video valuable, share with a friend. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.